Hey y'all. Okay, so this video is a little different. This video idea is not just for what I'm going to do it on, but for people who I was thinking you was going to get into tags. Now, say you're somebody who has a business and you saw my video where I had showed you my dies. You can either use a manual cutter, a digital cutter, or use just scissors and make tags and apply them to your crafts to like liven up your work when you sell it to people. I'm starting this off with an idea, something that I wanted to do it for a long time. Now, I bought these years ago. And these are distress oxide sprays, and they have a ball in it. If you're not sure about distress oxides or distress line in general, they are reactive with water. They come in a variety of colors. These are from Tim Holtz. They're on the Ranger line, as you can see. I'm choosing blues right now. I'm going to do a postcard with a watercolor postcard. This is what I got. I got these years ago. I have no idea if you can find these. None at all. But like I told you before, I'm using my stash. So things that I haven't used in years, I'm pulling it out and just like, let's make a video. So these are watercolor postcards. They are, how many? I don't know what GSM this is. These are 4x6. So here you go, 4x6, 30 acid free, yeah. Okay. So just know that these are watercolor. You want something watercolor, thick watercolor preferably, but watercolor nonetheless when you're working with a lot of liquids. This is going to be something more mixed media. If you were doing this with, say, regular ink pads, which you can, either the distress oxide ink pads or any ink pads for that matter, you can use water. And I will show something when it comes to watercolor markers, ink pads, and stuff like that for those who just want to do something real quick. This, I say again, is something that is quick for people who you want to just put something a little bit extra in your packages when you're sending them out to people. If not, if you want to make cards, say Christmas, birthdays, whatever, you want something a little bit quick. That's what this is for. And because I have had these things for years and I haven't used them, and in some cases I have, I decided, why not? Now, two things you need. One, let me go with this. This is the stamp I'm using. This is from Simon Says Stamp. This is from a Simon Says Stamp card kit. Now the container, these containers, they do have some of them on Simon's website. I bought these years ago from Amazon. They should still be there. They have packages of them inside of Simon, along with smaller versions of them. I bought mine years ago off Amazon, kind of around the time that they started promoting them inside their kits. This one, I'm going to use this stamp as my focal point, and I'm probably going to use maybe a sentiment or two, just to give you an idea. There you go. I was going to originally just use simply the kit because they had the Simply Beige or Barely Beige ink inside of it, but I decided, you know what, I want to do simpler. Like, I don't feel like coloring it in. I'm going to just let it be embossed. I'm going to color the background and I'm going to emboss it with gold or something so it stands out. Two things you could use. You could use either Versamark, which is a clear ink. What's the watermark or water stamp pad? And I do have, this is from Versamark. I do have a re-inker. And the other one is VersaFine. This is a black ink. This would be more for crisp ink. So if you was using something that is, say for instance, you see how this text is small, I would use VersaFine. But I'm not really gonna play too much with it because I'm just gonna put it inside of my Misty after I get the colors on it and just leave it as it is. You will need paper towels. You will need, if you're going to do splatters, you'll need water. You'll need the embossing tool. I'm going to use my DeGees heat tool. I also have my heated tool, but because of me wanting to do this quicker, I'm going to just use this one. If you have an embossing tool, let it come out. Let it come out. Like I said, I've had these things for years and I haven't played with them, and I'm like, okay, let's go. This particular stamp set, it's the sentiments: happy birthday, thanks, love and hugs, you're a treasure. If you were doing a card, this would be your focal point, or you could cut these out, all of these separately, and place them on top of the card if you want to make it like a sticker. If you're doing these on tags, you could do the same thing, or you could just stamp them directly onto it and just make it quick. If you buy tags, which it might be easier for you just to get like a pack of paper from, say, Walmart, cardstock, heavyweight card. Okay, y'all, so because it's splatter and this is my Tim Holtz glass mat, I don't want to get this all over my rhinestones and stuff, so I'm just putting paper towels across the back, and I'm just going to spray some and see what happens. I'm not going to spray water yet because, you know, it's my first time actually playing around with these. I know what's going to happen. I don't know how the mix is going to come though, because this is going to be completely random. So, because there's a ball inside, and these are a mix. Distress Oxide is a mixture of pigment and dye ink. Water reactive pink. It's water reactive, as you can see. Water reactive dye and pigment ink fusion. Make sure that you shake it. And I'm trying not to get it on me or my cameras. Okay. And any ink that's left over, you can use it, so it doesn't have to go anywhere, go to waste. Now, you wanna, let me get my heated tool. I am drying it in between layers so I can pick up that extra ink, giving it a quick dry. And as I let it sit, I'm gonna grab that ink that's on the bottom. Any ink that's left over, you can wet it and then pick that up later. So you can see that it's separating now on my mat, but it's drying on top of the cardstock. And you can see that the blend that I put down with all three colors is coming through on the watercolor card. So this will get messy. You can use gloves. You should use gloves. However your mix goes. One thing that you can do as well is get two of them. Let them kiss each other and put that ink on another one so it doesn't go to waste. Because I'm doing a layered thing and I'm wanting to give this a little bit more depth, because I'm not really doing much. I'm going to let the layers stand for themselves inside of the card. Oh, sorry, on top of the card. And then when I put the embossing, that's going to be another layer, because I'm not going to have it layered in terms of multiple layers. I wanted to give it a look like it is multiple layers, just because I've mixed everything together. And you can use a heated tool to do embossing, but it takes longer. This is more something that you would use for, say, art, heating your journals, heating cards, anything that is not like, it doesn't have to have an extreme heat, you would use with your heated tool. And because I'm just going to grab some of it and get some of them splotches. See what it looks like? Mermaidy. Because it's giving me a little bit mermaid. And again, I say be careful, because you don't want the ink all over you. And I should have got gloves, but it's whatever. I'm going to spray this with water. You can either spray it with water, wipe it down, chamois it, use the ink, don't let it go to waste. I might just put it in one of my journals to start a page with, or I could just put it on another card. The card will warp, as you can see, and this is watercolor, so if this was regular paper, it'd probably shred up, mess up. You know, this is a heavier weight card, watercolor, so I did put a lot of ink onto it. But that's fine. You see the layers start to come out. And the heat that I feel coming off of the card, it is bouncing back off me and it's heating the ink that's on the mat. And that's fine. Let me get my water and stuff. I got my water bottle. And what I'm going to do is, where did I put those cards? Okay, I see them. I'm going to pull another card, because I could get 2 for 1 with this ink, and I can always just spray more ink down. I actually could have put down a paper towel so I wouldn't have to clean up so much, but it's fine. This is a Crafty Chat, so I'm not, you know, Crafty Chats are demos. I just talk and I show you something. I'm not cutting out a whole bunch of stuff. I don't need to, because I don't want to edit that much. So yeah. So spray it with water, which is why I said you don't have to let the ink go to waste. I'll take this other card. You see? You start getting mixes where it starts to flow. Now, I did put a lot of water, and that's okay. This is going to look more watercolory, and the other one looks more, you know, do you see the difference? Same ink colors, it's just that one is have water in it. So this is what happens when it reacts with water. And you just put it to the side and let it dry, or you can use your heat tool or your embossing tool or whatever to sit there and dry it. You could just, if you're using glass mat or your tonic mat, whatever mat you use, because I think Waffle Flower got one. A bunch of people have mats. Don't go crazy over getting a mat. If you could get a Teflon sheet and use that one if you need to. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do your stuff, especially when you want to play. Don't go crazy with it. But because I want to, I'm going to give it some spritzes from afar. And I'm going to let it react. You let it sit for a couple of seconds. You take your paper towel and you just press and pick up all that extra ink. And then you let this dry. And it won't look the same way. As you can see now, it's reacting. So the one that I did that's pure ink, the one that I did that's a mixture, and you see the difference. And now I'm gonna clean up my mat, and I will dry these and come back, because when you're doing the embossing, you want to make sure that it is not wet. Okay, real quick, because I forgot something to mention. When you're heating this in one direction, your paper will curl. Meaning, as this is wet and I was heating it, I'll show you, it curls. Now, as that happens, flip it over and heat it on the opposite side. Oh, come on. And it should level itself out. When you use your heat tool, be careful, because the heat that comes off of this is really strong and it can burn your paper. Don't get too close and stay moving consistently at a consistent pace. So you can feel inside how damp the paper is. Just keep using your heat tool and dry off. And as you see, if it turns one way, if it curls towards you, because the water is, you're drying it out in one direction, turn it over and heat it in the other direction. so that it doesn't stay in that position. See how it's turning on me now? Because it's drying out. And the fibers are showing inside of the paper as it's curling up. I turn it upside down and heat it on the opposite direction, and it'll even itself out. Okay, so I heated this a lot. When you feel the paper, it'll feel hot, right? You'll feel cool. If you feel cool spots, damp spots, or anything like that, the paper is still wet. This one, I'm feeling some cool spots, like to the touch, but that means the core of the paper has dampness inside of it. This one is a little bit more dry, and it's flatter, in a sense, but it's not transfer my hand. It's not as damp as this one is because I use more water. The test that you do is you take your embossing buddy and you would rub it on there. If the embossing powder is sticking to it or clumping in any directions on it, not the embossing powder, sorry, your embossing buddy. So it would be like your tool. The one I showed you a while ago where I showed you that I use for my embossing, I also use for my DTF transfer adhesive so that things don't stick to it. That's the same cornstarch in a bag or powder or whatever. You still use the same thing to make sure that there's nothing wet on this. Okay,